Honorable G.Gagendrakumar Ponnampalam, you have 15 minutes.
I thank you, Chair. I was actually hoping to congratulate the Honorable Deputy Speaker on his election. Unfortunately, he took off before I could do that. This adjournment motion by Honorable Professor Ranjit Bandara states in its second paragraph, Honorable Chairperson, especially the report with regards to this Central Bank report for 2019, especially the report has presented the background required to gain a comprehensive understanding on the massive setback the economy of our country has suffered within the period from 2015 to 2019 as compared to 2005 to 2015. Then, and also Finance Minister, these microfinance institutions sprung up like mushrooms. They sprung up, and because those war-affected people for over 30 years were asked to compete with the rest of the country, with absolutely no effort to try and to just turn a complete blind eye and allowed all sorts of institutions to spring up. And as a result, those people, if they were asked to compete with the rest of the country, were forced to take loans. This is what actually happened. And they took loans. They took loans to the extent where these scrupulous financial institutions bankrupted them. The suicide rates in the Northeast increased, not just with small holders, even fairly middle to large scale businessmen were unable to furnish their loans. The rate of suicide in the Northeast amongst the business community and traders actually increased after the war. You would expect that the situation economically would be dire during the war, but actually it became far worse after the war. So if you look at the financial situation, particularly with regards to loans and the debt situation of the people of the Northeast, the foundations for it was laid during this government or its previous predecessor, when His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa was president and Finance Minister. I think the then governor is also present. The previous governor came out with a report on these microfinances, and in fact said that except for banks, the major recognized banks and major financial institutions, it is these small unregulated financial institutions that created this mess. I would suggest that this government look into the question of those microfinance problems, because they have a duty, because it is they who created it, particularly in the Northeast, where a battered people for over 32 years were forced into that situation. They were forced into that situation, and when you have His Excellency the President in his speech with regards to policy, stating that he said nothing about rights, but at least he said that when it comes to development, that he would create a level playing field regardless of ethnicities, then it is a duty upon this government, because it was they who created that situation back in 2009, that they should look and actually relieve all of those people who have been plagued by the question of a debt and are actually in a debt trap, not a debt trap, a debt trap. And it is the duty of this government to do that. Mr. Chairman, simply to relieve them today of their debt situation is not going to solve anything, unless, as I said earlier, that you have a policy of some sort of protectionism to even today, even though it is a late stage, 10 years later or 11 years later, to help those people protect their economy first and then allow it to grow to an extent that they can in fact compete with the rest of the country. Now, Mr. Chairman, this report talks quite elegantly